going there myself in just a little while. But this is going to be this entrance here that we're seeing is not going to be the entrance that you will be using. That would normally be the main entrance, but that will be CIG's entrance. The entrance that we'll be using, where all those people just went to get their goodie bags, is around the corner here. And so that is going to be happening tomorrow. I see this Citizencon as having 4 pillars. The first pillar is going to be the planets beyond Pyro, both how they're being built, which ones are going to be there. We'll probably get both teases of what they look like and a lot of technology discussions about what are the planets beyond Pyro going to be. The second pillar is, of course, Squadron 42, which is going to take up the last half of the first day. And then the third pillar, starting on the second day, is going to be base building. They've got a lot of base building focus, not only on the base building system itself, but the ships that are going to be part of the base building system. And then the final pillar of this Citizencon, the one that's going to be getting a lot of people's attention, is going to be Star Citizen 1.0, what the final release is going to be. And some of these topics are going to be very exciting, and some of them are going to be quite controversial. There have been people who have kind of built their careers, built their YouTube channels around the idea of Star Citizen has to be a scam. And they will be latching onto that angle of it, and there will probably be little bits and pieces that they will give them their hooks to get into. Among them, I have not seen anything regarding on the schedule about StarSim or the economy. I might have expected that to have been one of the pillars of this Citizencon, and it is not. And that is also when they discuss what is in Squadron 42, the naysayers will leap upon, undoubtedly, how long it's taken and how much it's cost, even though it's a large portion of what has gone into CIG and the project has not been strictly Squadron 42 things. It's also gone to build a company. It's also gone to build Star Citizen. So to say, this is the $800 million piece of software they promised, and look how long it took, and look at how much it cost. They're thinking everything, both in terms of cost and in terms of dollars, and in terms of years, was just on Squadron 42, and it isn't. I am expecting that we'll be seeing for Squadron 42 a announcement of pre-sales. Not an announcement of release date necessarily, an estimated release date probably, but the main announcement will be the opening of pre-sales, I believe. Also, another thing that's going to be raising hackles and controversies, that everything that is said going to be in Star Citizen 1.0 is by definition, through omission, saying what is not. And the people that have made their YouTube channels out of the belief, almost zealotry, that Star Citizen has to be a scam, will be launching onto every thing that was said and attended for the chairman 10 years ago, or everything that was said at a Gamescom presentation 12 years ago, or everything that was said in in the initial Kickstarter, and say, That was the thing that caused me to want to buy Star Citizen, and now it's not happening. See, I told you it was a scam. So there's going to be, the haters will undoubtedly, the lovers will find plenty to love in this Citizencon, and the haters will undoubtedly find plenty to hate. And that's just the nature of the world. You can't please everybody all the time, neither are you likely to even want to try. So, apart from that, another thing that I'm very much looking forward to, but I really don't know what it's going to be, is the panel on tomorrow, the second panel on social. And mostly because it could encompass so much, but reading from the description, it's hard to know exactly what that's going to be. Among the things that the social panel could be is the long promised need for a matchmaking system. You may remember in the they first presented the technologies for server meshing and shards. They talked about having a method for matching up who was on the right shard, returning you to the same shard. So that could be part of the social system. Another important thing that may be part of the discussion of social is the rework of how you do bed log out. Because as we do these large multi-crew ships spanning across multiple star systems, it's going to be necessary, if you have a Polaris or a Hammerhead or really any large multi-crew ship, for your people to be able to log out on the ship and be able to return to the ship when they log in. And right now, that simply doesn't happen. The ship is tied to the ship owner, and everybody else, they pretty much have to go to their spawn location. They're the last place with halves that they visited, which in some cases is exactly what you want, but in other cases is not going to be what you want. And so some way, and again, this may be tied to the matchmaking system, about controlling where you're logging out and controlling where you're logging back in at. And that's a thorny situation. Another potential thing this can be is the system for what I've been calling guest play. The ability to let someone else play your alt accounts and thus be able to bring together a party and keep a party together. Something that would have been an important part of the whole shebang is this ability to do guest play. Another thing that, again, could be part of the whole social thing is Orgs 2.0. Something that, talk has been happening about what will the next generation of the org system in Star Citizen be. And there's been lots of discussion on it. And every time I bring up that topic in a video or on Discord, it generates a lot of strong and frequently contradictory information and opinions about what people want in orgs 2.0, because by definition, the features you put in orgs 2.0 define what is the role of an org in Star Citizen. The very basic things that are currently part of the org system don't really count for much. But when you start to add more features, every feature supports a certain or doesn't support a certain type of org. And so there will be, if they do talk about the features of org 2.0, there will be a lot of people that will be thinking that that really wasn't what I wanted to be in org. That's what I don't really need to manage my org. Because if you look at all the orgs in that are available for Star Citizen, they have very different needs because they're trying to accomplish very different things. And one of the most controversial of them is whether there would be support in 2.0, in orgs 2.0, for org-owned ships and an org-owned treasury. That some orgs really need that capability for the kind of org they're trying to create, but it opens a real can of worms for abuses. And people work very hard and make lots of donations. The org builds a big fleet of ships, and then the org leader leaves or changes or has new priorities, or you allow orgs to have types of org-owned ships and org-owned treasuries. I have org-donated ships and org-donated treasure, basically org-donated ships. And that is, and so that way, if you don't like where the org is going, but are instead able to basically take your ball and go home. And I'm going to twist the camera around here. And I don't know if you recognize the building behind me, but it is CIG's headquarters. In the little bit of time I've talked with you about Citizencon, I have walked from the convention center to the buildings where CIG's headquarters is certainly 99.999. This is as close as I am getting to CIG's facility. Because like any company, I'm sure they have lobby security, and I'm not going to ruin their day or ruin my day. And so here's the building that CIG is in. And as an architect, I would love to see the inside. And then right across this alley is this doorway, which is the motion capture studio. The motion capture studio is in fact a joint project with a company called Versa Studios. And you'll see often both of them put on the name of who is sponsoring Citizencon. This building apparently used to be a something called Granada Studios. It was a television studios that the BBC and others used, and it's been converted into, among other things, sound stages, and one particular of the sound stages is being long-term rented to CIG for the use of doing their motion capture. But it is not in the same building. I would definitely love to see the inside of that. I've seen pictures of it. It looks like a high-tech Willy Wonka's factory if you love to do mocap. But yeah, if I turn and look in the window, you can see the Cloud Imperium. They've got the upper two floors, and Booking.com that has most of the rest of the space. But I seriously doubt that I would get beyond the even beyond the security gate there without raising way too much concern. Which brings up an interesting question with my disappointment, and that is why, if it's been such a standard thing in previous Citizencons to give studio tours, and we are obviously at the studio. I mean, there is the sign right on the entrance. Why aren't we? In fact, it looks like they have a lobby on the first floor. I think I can take a picture in here. No. Gotta, not even getting a front door open. So why aren't we at this Citizencon having a studio tour? And I can only think of a couple of reasons. And so I'm going to talk about them, since I can't actually talk about the interior design. I can actually talk about the exterior design. The building owners describe this building as being brutalist, but I'm not sure it quite qualifies as brutalist. It's definitely a little postmodern. The square windows mimic the square windows on the industrial buildings around here. So if you see that old industrial building down there, it's got square windows. So the square windows mimic and are a bit of contextual reference, which is a sort of a standard part of postmodern design. But even more, this represents a 20th century form of architecture that is only known by its derisive nickname. And the derisive nickname for this kind of architecture is Minecraft Moderne. In other words, every darn thing is a square, or some module of a square. And so that's, and you see a lot of buildings, not only this one, but that one down there at the corner, that have this, you really could build them in Minecraft without much challenge. But let me talk a little bit about why I think CIG is not doing studio tours this year. And I suspect it's because of a couple of things. The first is that rumor has it that it's not fully complete. There are still things that haven't been, that aren't 100%. And they want to wait until everything's 100%. Now, as an architect, that's very frustrating, because the job of an architect is to look at buildings that are not complete. Not wanting to show an architect your not yet complete building is a bit like not wanting to get undressed for your doctor. Their job is to see you in a naked state. But not everyone is an architect. Some people see a half-completed building and they don't think of the kind of delays that normally happen with building out commercial space, but instead see mismanagement. Whereas it's just sometimes things take longer. And also, if you're building out space for the future, there's no need to construct all of it at once. But I think another thing that is going on is that they know the haters are going to scream about, for lack of a better term, the Taj Mahal. That Chris Roberts has taken all your money and they put it into this Taj Mahal. And some smarter streamers will point out that in the world of high technology, CIG is not a startup anymore. It's 12 years old, it has 1,000 employees, and once your employee number has 4 digits on it, you're not impressed by the fact that you're working for this scrappy startup, because you're not a scrappy startup anymore. And you have to compete with Ubisoft and Riot Games and Google and Facebook and Meta, and you're in that competition. And one of the things that these companies compete with each other for is in excellent office space. Another thing is that it's considered good management. Way back in the 1960s, there was a number of studies, although some of them were funded by furniture manufacturers, that showed that spending money on high quality, particularly highly efficient and highly ergonomic office furnishings paid off. It paid off in improved retention, and it paid off in fewer employee sick days, and it paid off in morale. Because if you people are going home at 5 p.m. on the dot with a sore back, you've lost productivity from them. If during the middle of the day they're having to take extra breaks because their back is so sore, you're going to, you've lost productivity. And so there's a real competition to get really high quality office space. But that's not the all of it. And this is a story that even most knowledgeable content creators will miss. I'm perhaps uniquely able to tell this part of it. Morphologist might be able to, because he's an architect as well, but I don't know how much of his professional practice has been in office interiors. A lot of mine has. When I was a pioneer in computer-aided design, a lot of the building drawings I was doing were office buildings, because they were so well adapted to the early capabilities of computer-aided design. And for a while, I was creating and selling computer-aided facility management software. So office facility management is something that I know quite a bit about. And one thing you don't understand is that, of course, this building isn't CIG's building. They're renting the space. And so it's not CIG's money, particularly not if you are renting a whole floor of unfinished space. Whenever you sign a lease for a block of commercial office space, there is something called the tenant improvement budget. The tenant improvement budget is a whole bunch of money from the building owner. Not your money, the building owner's money, that the building owner will front and that you get to use, but only for building out the space, for turning it into your offices. And the reason why the building owners give you that money is because they are now going to be able to carry the office space as improved office space rather than bare office space. And that carries a much higher valuation on their books. So it's basically them, what they were expecting to do, improving their own building. And so they put up that money. Now, if you really want to have very, very high quality office space, you can then ask for an even larger tenant improvement budget than the one that the building owners put up with. And that will result in a higher rate, but that higher rent is paid in the future over the course of the entire length of the lease. I don't know what the length here that they've signed of a lease here, but usually when you're signing a lease for whole floors for corporate headquarters, you're signing a fairly long-term lease. And so that the money that is being used to build out this space and make it look so nice and be competitive is coming not from your pledges. It's not the money Chris Roberts collected from your presence in selling spaceships. It's future revenues, but in large part, it's the building owner's money that he is, through CIG, using to improve his own building. And they're going to be his furniture, his walls, his carpet. And then there's another source of money. Again, I do not have the actual numbers, but the competition for companies to put their headquarters, particularly if they have, a few hundred employees, and particularly if they are in a highly desirable field, such as entertainment products. And Manchester is working very hard to turn itself into a center for entertainment and high technology products. That's why Versa Studios is there. And so, particularly in the post-Brexit age, where Britain was desperate for new homegrown businesses because they basically had voted to make themselves an island again economically. There was a lot of incentive money being thrown around, and a company wanting to relocate their corporate offices to the UK from any place else could have negotiated. And I believe they're good enough negotiators, could have negotiated very substantial payments. And those payments would have been added, because they wouldn't just give the money for anything. They would add them for the costs and expenses of bringing their headquarters onto into their city and into their country. So there was undoubtedly some government money going into building out this space. So in reality, it wasn't your pledges that are building the Taj Mahal. It is the building owners, it is government subsidies, and it is future rents, which may be a little bit higher. But again, those are considered necessary to compete as a high-tech company. And right now, people are in games and in high technology are feeling lucky to have a job at all. But that won't always be the case. It will undoubtedly get competitive again. And so that is, that's an awful lot to explain to someone who would much rather just scream about how Chris Roberts took all of these people's money and built himself a Taj Mahal instead of a game. But that's not the case. And anyone at CIG, I would still love to be able to take a tour of your facilities. As you can tell, I'll give them an honest and fair and not judgmental or inflammatory coverage. I'm even going to be around through Monday. But it is frustrating for an architect to be this close. I mean, there's the sign. This is how close I am to Cloud Imperium Games. And to be this close and not actually be able to tour the facility. I hope that this will be my only disappointment from this Citizencon, but it is the first one on the list. And I hope it'll also be the last one on the list. But anyhow, what I will be doing for coverage, there's going to be two types of coverage I'm going to be doing. One is on my cell phone, which will be vertical and with relatively quick turnaround, so I can be looking and responding to your comments. The other technique I'm going to be using is that I have a GoPro with me, and there is a way of streaming the GoPro through the phone to YouTube, which obviously is a much better camera, and I can do wide angle shots and all sorts of things. But from my experiments, there's a huge delay, like 30 or 40 seconds from what I see and what you see. And so obviously any sort of give and take won't be possible. Also, that takes more bandwidth, obviously. And so I have to have access to a Wi-Fi network. I am hoping that, like in Los Angeles, CIG will have a dedicated high-capacity Wi-Fi available for people on the floor, show creators and stuff. And my plan is to do, starting at about 8 a.m., an hour before the doors open, 8 a.m., talking with people arriving, and then continuing up until the start of the first session, and then relatively brief reactions, not during the panels themselves, because I want to be able to concentrate on watching the panels and taking in what they're saying. But between the panels, I also think that I will probably be talking, be out in the room doing coverage during the cosplay contest, because the cosplay contest is fun, but it is relatively little, actually almost nothing to do with the actual game itself and the content that I'm trying to provide you. Then I also plan on covering I do have a ticket to Atmo Esports. I may also a bit later tonight be making a run through the Bar Citizen street takeover, which is literally right outside my hotel room. I'm at the Kimpton Clock Tower, which is a again, here's my architect coming out. It's in a beautiful example. I'll try to get you some pictures of it. It's a beautiful example of late Victorian architecture. It's a listed historic place. My room has like 16-foot tall ceilings with like 14-foot tall windows. It's amazing, and this wonderful tile work. That just had me drooling as an architect at the room. Definitely, it's worth it to seek out the unique places and skip the corporate glass towers, because there are gems out there when you go traveling, and it's always fun to seek them out. And maybe I'll get you some pictures of the Kimpton Clock Tower building. It's a pretty amazing piece of architecture. And it's a listed historic place, although the other listed historic place in Manchester is the convention center. And in fact, the convention center is rated a little, they have tiers of lists of historic places. And the convention center is in the second highest tier. Things in the first tier are like Buckingham Palace, so it isn't quite there, but it's considered a very important historic structure by the British people. So that's going to be another fun part of the whole Citizencon, one that I definitely do not expect to be a disappointment. Anyhow, I'm looking forward to giving you this coverage, and I hope you enjoy receiving it. So I'm going to sign off now. Fly safe. Oh, all of these live videos will count towards the ship giveaways. I'm not going to give you a secret word. Just say something specific about something I said, and I'll count it as a secret word. But they will count, the YouTube uploads of them will count towards the giveaways. We are very close to giving away that Zeus 2 CL. I think at this point I think we're right about 100 more subs. So if you haven't subbed, get a sub, and we'll be giving away that Zeus CL, which is now flyable in the game. And it's a nice beginning starter ship, better than a beginning starter ship. It's what you It's what you grow up from your starter ship into. But it's good shit. Anyhow, fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Ray with Ray's Guide. And yes, it's not drizzling right now, but it was earlier. The streets are all wet. Hey, if Board Gamer gets a tour, I want a tour. All right. You know, I know he's got more subs. I know he's got, more time, but I'm the freaking architect. If Board gets a tour, I get a tour, Morph gets a tour. All right, you got to give the pros a tour. Anyhow, have fun, guys. Signing out.